Every single institution in our societies is a failure. Not to say that there's not individuals who are working within them for good purposes and doing good things, but the institutions as a whole are all failures. And that's not a prophecy of doom or gloom. That is just simply the truth. And in fact, sons and daughters of God have no bad news, because we can understand things in the full picture and in the full perspective. So simply seeing the reality of what is happening here on this planet known as Urantia, and understanding that no institution has the total picture, whether it be your sick care industry, they call it the healthcare industry, but it really is the sick care industry, whether it be your political parties, your left, your right, your libertarian, centrist, all of them, they're all missing key elements. There literally is only one thing on the planet that has the full picture, and it is the fifth epochal revelation. And again, not to say that within individuals there might be more than just some truths in piecemeal. I mean, somebody could have auto-revelations and understand all of these concepts even before this blue book was put into print. But remember, revelation is never definitive. It's always updating. Truth is always living. So keep that in mind. People either need to convince themselves that one of their institutions isn't a failure by only looking at the partial truth because they feel favoritism towards that particular institution, and they might not have any other solution to go to, so they have to do some sort of self-deception to say, oh, the left-wing political party has all the answers and it's perfect, or the right-wing political party has all the answers and it's perfect. And they might not want to look at the harsh realities where those political parties are missing, because they don't have deity and divinity. That's the point here that I'm trying to make. Sons and daughters of God, we understand, and people who have read this book especially, understand that this is a time-space isolated world that these things are transpiring. So for me to point out that there's no institutions that are successful on this planet, it doesn't make that's not what determines my soul's next progression after this world. That's all individual. That's what I do. That's what you do. And we're not held back because of what's happening on our planet. But the better that we understand it, the better that we can then remember, when pointing out the flaws of the world, we need point no further than our own noses. So the better we can say, well, geez, is any of this happening within me? And if so, am I going to do some sort of self-deception in order to say, no, that's okay, or am I going to say, no, that's not, I want to try to transcend beyond that? But also within doing that, you can give yourself a great bit of leeway from understanding what has transpired on this planet, and that these institutions are designed to be failures in order to keep evil as the head of this planet and the head of this world. Because as soon as they do, then, evil starts to lose control, and the control becomes back to good, the individuals that are trying to work towards good, and so forth, and we would gear towards light and life on a planet. Okay, long spiel. We're on page 1301, Supreme and Ultimate Time and Space. Let's look at this, because this explains a lot. Control and over-control. Okay. In time-space creations, free will is hedged about with restraints, with limitations. Okay, so there's free will, but an example of that is that you're not going to have the power to destroy a universe, that sort of thing. There's going to be sort of governors, like they would put on a motorbike, so it wouldn't go too fast or something like that. With limitations. Material life evolution is first mechanical. We can see these mechanisms. Then mind activated. See, those original mechanisms, they just were going based on just a little bit of code within them, these single cell organisms that just do these things. But then the mind then is now intervening, and it's more complicated. And after the bestowal of personality, folks, a gift from God, that's spiritual. So anybody that's not spiritual will have trouble understanding what personality is. They'll try to relate it to an aspect of the mind, and then you're going to start to run into these inevitable confusions, and it's going to make your institution a failure. Like, for instance, psychology, the institution of psychology, unless it understands, these personalities are bestowed for God, unless it understands spirituality, there's no way to get it other than the right way. You can't try to invent this new sort of way that's going to work its way around what the creator of life and the creator of time and space and the creator of the universes has bestowed as the complete picture, the truth. You can have your individual aspect, and it's designed to be that way. See, personality. You can have great, amazing, different thoughts, creative, original ideas, all of that. It's not this, again, it's not a mechanism. It may become spirit-directed. Organic evolution on the inhabited worlds is physically limited by the potentials of original physical life implantations of the life carriers. Those are the beings who put the original life, the single-celled protoplasms and things on the planet that evolve. Okay, so balancing our scientific understanding of evolution with the origins of life itself being spiritual. Mortal man is a machine, a living mechanism. His roots are truly in the physical world of energy. Then that's why we are so basically enslaved to these physical temptations. Many human reactions, and they're only temptations and they're only evil if we are not having them in proportion with the way that they're divinely ordained to be. For instance, the taste sensation, eat the delectable, healthy foods, the fruits, the colorful rainbow fruits. But then when you go into 1,000,001 sordid things, then you're going to come up with your heart disease, your diabetes, and so forth. Many human reactions are mechanical in nature. Much of life is machine-like, so it makes sense. Animals, machine-like, right? They aren't thinking about their health when you put them in the dumpster at McDonald's. They're just going to eat all of it. Just like a human machine mind person, an automaton person just walking around through time and space that hasn't had this change of heart and this understanding. But man, a mechanism, is much more than a machine. He is a mind endowed and spirit indwelt. Keep that in mind through all of your hardships or things that are happening, or when you're looking out in the world and you're saying, geez, all these hardship things are happening. That stuff, folks, that's permanence. That can be transcendent. And though he can never throughout his material life escape the chemical and electrical mechanisms of his existence, he can increasingly learn how to subordinate this physical life machine to the directive wisdom of experience by the process of consecrating the human mind to the execution of the spiritual urges of the indwelling thought adjuster. See, in the Eastern, they tried to subordinate the physical life by doing, I believe, what is it called? Aestheticism? I forget. But they denial or sleeping on the bed of nails, doing all the painful types of things. But then they kind of become obsessed with it. They become imbalanced with it. They'll, basically allow their limbs to shrivel up by holding them above their head in a way to honor Shiva and sort of thing. So you're not trying to do that, but you can, again, this consecrating the human mind, spiritual urges, there's a way to go about all of it. Hey, you like sex, enjoy sex? Hey, great, find yourself a partner and you have monogamous sex until... for however long, for your whole entire life, you're enjoying that sexual experience, and you're growing in character in order to say, hey, there's 1,000,001 different attractive individuals out there, but this is about getting closer together with my individual, building family and that sort of thing. So there's a way, it's about that procedure. There's a way to go about this balance of things, and that's what it's saying right here. Okay, it's not saying you have to deny yourself this electrical mechanism idea of wanting to have sex which is indwelt in you, but once you start to make it into some, non-spiritual idea, and the other thing too, this isn't just my kind of ideas. We have the data to back it up. Look at your diseases, your sexually transmitted diseases. Look at your statistics for home life and how children who have, parents that are statistically, now I'm not saying that everybody's a member of this statistic, but statistically, you're more inclined for criminal sorts of behaviors and that sort of thing. The Spirit liberates and the mechanism, all these statistics, folks, we've gathered all these statistics and they're all just validating this spiritual concept that's laid out, which is written in your heart, okay? Nobody can claim ignorance anymore, especially because the statistics are out there. The Spirit liberates and the mechanism limits the function of will. Imperfect choice, that's a beautiful statement, by the way. Imperfect choice, uncontrolled by mechanism, unidentified with Spirit, is dangerous and unstable. Mechanical dominance, and we see that, again, statistically. Mechanical dominance ensures stability at the expense of progress. Spirit alliance liberates choice from the physical level and at the same time assures the divine stability produced by augmented universe insight and increased cosmic comprehension. So you have to have these, that's the total picture right there. Look at that. Cosmic comprehension, the total full picture of it. And then you can have the right balance of mechanism and spirit. The great danger that besets the creature is that in achieving liberation from the fetters of life mechanism, he will fail to compensate this loss of stability by effecting a harmonious working liaison with spirit. Creature choice, when relatively liberated from mechanical stability, may attempt further self-liberation independent of greater spirit identification. So they're basically just saying that you become more liberated, but then in that liberation, if you don't go towards spirit and you just try to go more and more liberated, that's my mission, more self-liberty, then you'll start to step on other people in order to gain your, this is this harmonious liaison that they're talking about, spirit identification, cooperation, sharing, service, all of that sort of thing. Or else you'll just become this, what do they call it? Unbridled personal liberty, which is the Lucifer manifesto. Might makes right, that sort of stuff. The whole principle of biologic evolution makes it impossible for primitive man to appear on the inhabited worlds with any large endowment of self-restraint. Therefore does the same creative design which purposed evolution likewise provide those external restraints of time and space, hunger and fear, which effectively circumscribe the spiritual choice range of such uncultured creatures. You see, there's that inherent governor, which is there on purpose, because we're dealing with perfection here when it comes to, what was the name of this thing again? Control and over-control. That's the point here. There's an over-control. You're allowed quite a bit of leeway within that, but eventually there's a divine over-control, not a micromanaging. As man's mind successively overstrides increasingly difficult barriers, this same creative design has also provided for the slow accumulation of the racial heritage of painfully garnered experiential wisdom. In other words, for the maintenance of a balance between the diminishing external restraints and the augmented internal restraints. So again, pointing towards that balance, spirit and body, mechanism, chemical, and that sort of thing. But they're also saying there's this wisdom that comes from learning what happens when we go to war and so forth, or there should be. The slowness of evolution, which isn't on this planet. We don't have that wisdom yet. We're just still, of that lost thing where we're trying to settle these difficulties by going to war. The slowness of evolution of human cultural progress testifies to the effectiveness of that brake, material inertia, which so efficiently operates to retard dangerous velocities of progress. Thus does time itself cushion and distribute the otherwise lethal results of premature escape from the next encompassing barriers to human action. This is a liberal universe, the book points out. Our Michael of Nebadon is very liberal, and there's a lot of leeway here, folks. I mean, look at what's transpired on this planet, the anti-God and anti-Christ that's been allowed to take place, but that's the wisdom of the, the divine creators. But again, there's a break there eventually. For when culture advances over fast, we're experiencing this. When material achievement outruns the evolution of worship wisdom, folks. That's our planet right there. Let's see what happens. Let's see if this is right. Is this what we're going to see? Then does civilization contain within itself the seeds of retrogression. That is, if you want to know the state and status of the world, that's it right there. You know, your health, your age of life, average age of life is even declining. And unless buttressed by the swift augmentation of experiential wisdom, it has to look at, all right, swift. We're in trying times here. Are we get it? Such human societies will recede from high but premature levels of attainment. In the dark ages of the intergnum, don't know what that means, of wisdom, will bear witness to the inexorable restoration of the imbalance between self-liberty and self-control. We will literally go back into a dark ages, folks. You don't look at your post-apocalyptic type of movies and that sort of thing. It could easily happen. I mean, 12 people could blow up the world today or tomorrow, or 6 people with the nuclear. And I am unsure if that would be allowed in the universe. I don't know, because they do say that if evolution was to be threatened here on this planet, then a ready-made planet is ready to go, or not ready-made, but there's some world ready to go in case something happens on a planet and the beings are transported from this one to that one, and the evolution can continue. And that's kind of a spiritual sort of, transportation. It's not like a machine, as far as I understand, it's not like a machine-like type thing where there's spaceships or that sort of thing. It's just that it's the ultimate fail-safe to say, because it does say planets do expire. I don't know if that would be allowed to happen, or if before those 6 people press those nuclear buttons, or 5 or 2 or 1, I don't even know how many it would take. If those 6 people were just to have some sort of spiritual force stop them from pressing that button, I don't know if that would be the case. Or would they be allowed to blow it up, and then the divine in their wisdom would just transport beings to another planet to continue this evolution that is so valuable and took millions of years in order to get to this level. So, I don't know. The iniquity of Caligastia was we'll see, I guess. The iniquity of Caligastia was the bypassing of the time governor of progressive human liberation. The gratuitous destruction of restraining barriers which the mortal minds of those times had not experientially overridden. And so when you're thinking, why are these institutions all failures, or how can I make that claim? Look at what's in control of these institutions. This is the ruling and leading force of this planet. Okay, it is a planet in rebellion, and it still remains that to this day. That mind which can effect a partial abridgment of time and space by this very act proves itself possessed of the seeds of wisdom which can effectively serve in lieu of the transcendent barrier of restraint. So there's some good news. We can have that. We can do that here and now and today in your own life. Lucifer similarly sought to disrupt the time governor operating in restraint of the premature attainment of certain liberties in the local system. A local system settled in light and life has experientially achieved those viewpoints and insights which make feasible the operation of many techniques that would be disruptive and destructive in the pre-settled eras of that very realm. So again, it's just pointing out to the more wisdom or more things that you have the greater. I mean, before you built the nuclear bomb, these beings didn't know how to blow up the whole entire planet. So it's just going to show the same. They have many techniques that would be disruptive and destructive in the pre-settled eras of that very realms. As man shakes off the shackles of fear, which we do right here and right now, throw that away. Anxiety, fear, we don't need that, okay? We're assured of our destiny, even if we don't do it perfectly here and we still are, I can't get it together, so forth. Does that mean that I'm not going to carry on and continue on? No, breathe a sigh of relief. Even if you're just perusing these pages, you're upping your status in the universe. So let go of any of that sort of fear, folks. Really, we can do that. We can make a pact to do that. These people had their house burnt in the wildfires, and it's tragic, and we don't want it to happen. But do we need to be afraid of that going to happen or that sort of thing? No. Remember the Master Jesus said, what should it matter if the whole entire world collapses around you? For you have eternal life. So that world was collapsing around those people that were in that fire. And hopefully they went to their understanding. I pray that they went to their understanding of deity and divinity. Because if they were just worshiping at the altar of materialism, then that puts them in a very, very rough state. As he bridges continents and oceans with his machines, generations and centuries with his records, he must substitute for each transcendent restraint a new and voluntarily, nobody's going to do it for us, assumed restraint in accordance with the moral dictates of expanding human wisdom. Assumed restraint. It doesn't sound like a good idea for us who have been programmed into this world of get principle, that we would want to assume a restraint. And in fact, then it gets muddled with man's Christianity and various religions that are trying to impose certain things, arbitrary silliness, which hat you need to wear and so forth. These self-imposed restraints are at once the most powerful and the most tenuous of all the factors of human civilization. Concepts of justice and ideals of brotherhood. Man even qualifies himself for the restraining garments of mercy when he dares to love his fellow men. You're not going to play your music all at top level because you love your neighbor, while he achieves the beginning of spiritual brotherhood when he elects to met out to them the treatment which he himself would be accorded, even that treatment which he conceives that God would accord them. An automatic universe reaction is stable and in some form continuing in the cosmos. A personality who knows God and desires to do his will, who has spirit insight, is divinely stable, folks, and eternally existent. That's us, sons and daughters of God. That's not my faith or belief, folks. I'm at the knowing level of that, and I'm just like anybody else who just decided to have a change of heart and take my faith to that next level. And it became clear to me, this is a reality, folks. This isn't wishful thinking. We're going to live after this life. Man's great universe adventure consists in the transit of his mortal mind from the stability of mechanical statics to the divinity of spiritual dynamics. Wow. And he achieves this transformation by the force and constancy of his own personality decisions, folks. Diet, essential. A decision you make 10 times a day, or wow, it shouldn't be 10 times a day, but that's just one. I mean, diet's one, lifestyle, how you're going to treat others, it's a lot easier to treat someone better than you would treat yourself, I've found, for maybe there's some psychopaths and sociopaths out there who can't really distinguish, but there's so many things that we wouldn't do to another person. Would you want to just meet somebody in the street and just dump a bunch of anxiety onto them and worry and fear? No. But would you do it to yourself? Yes, you would do it. Would you dump a bunch of disease on this person and chemicals? Would you water your plants with the same things that you water your insides with? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't want to see that plant shrivel up with all those random chemicals and so forth. But you got to then try to do it. Remember, it's not only how you treat others, but it's how you treat yourself too. Your own mechanism that matters. In each of life's situations, declaring, "It is my will that your will be done." So hard, and that's a good reminder for me too, because I'm not perfect at all in this. Even though I've had a glimpse of what that was like, I've since fallen off the boat and so forth. But it's important to remember that it is my will that look at, in each of life's situations. That's moment by moment, folks. That's what this walk entails. And we will be rewarded not only in the here and after for it, but even your life and your personal life will start to have various signs. Okay, so that's it, folks. Supreme and ultimate time and space. Just one little, remember, all of that wisdom, one tiny little fraction, just in this massive 2,000-page book. So check out the Urantia book, and we'll see you